second after 5 laps. He's not going to be there due to the accident, but those 5-lap results will be added to the next 15 laps we're about to see to give the final result. So Jonathan Bancroft sits on his own on the front row. He was well clear anyway, so really he just needs to head this field home for the next 15 laps. The second row dice between Rob Murphy and Matt Johnson looks likely to continue for these next 15 laps, and Murphy has again held that place. So Rob Murphy, having a very impressive Formula Ford 2000 debut, leads up the hill, leads the chase of Jonathan Bancroft, who again looks set to sail off into the distance. But Murphy is in second, Johnson third, Lees fourth, Foster fifth, and very close, bumping and boring for sixth, seventh, an area where Emily Newman should have been. In fact, Emily there quite a few places back, so hasn't quite got the knack of getting off the grid with the slick-tired Formula Ford 2000s. And sadly, her work in the first heat now, she's going to have to do it all over again, because there she is back in 7th or 8th. On to top straight, starting what is the end of their 6th racing lap, the first, but there already 2 more have been off. David Wright there, number 2, and Daniel Campo, 32, a Canadian. We've had many Canadians come over to do this Grandstand Series. This year's man doesn't look likely to follow in the success of Priz, desperately trying to get me back on the circuit. So, drama there, but Bancroft well ahead. There for Colin Lees there, really going out wide, the same as we'd seen Martin Boyle, his fellow Irishman. So we nearly saw another Irishman have the same mistake, getting wider and wider, coming through Surtees and breaking for clearways. But Lees held on to not only the car, but also his position, and fighting very hard for 4th. 5th, then Cal Foster, 6th behind him, and closing in is Piers Honeysett, who was the same position behind. Then is the Scot Cameron Binney, and then Emily Newman. Oh, and Foster there, a very, very brave manoeuvre. Don't get too much power on too soon. And there comes back on the road. And once again, we'll have Emily Newman right behind him, although slipping in between them is Cameron Binney, the Scots driver. So Foster, Binney, and Newman. Foster trying to block. So a very big manoeuvre there to try and get by Colin Lees. Failed. Well, he actually overtook him, but then sailed wild onto the dirt. And now Foster's got Binney and Emily Newman right behind him. Newman, in fact, looking up the inside of Cameron Binney there onto top straight. She's half a car inside, but Binney closes it down. Foster easing away, and Newman obviously keen as quick as possible to get past Cameron Binney and move back on up the field. She was, of course, ahead of Cameron Binney in the first half of the race, and she's got her eyes set on Foster, behind all sorts of manoeuvres going on at Druids. So this battle rages on up front for second place between Rob Murphy and Matt Johnson, both fairly inexperienced in single-seaters. Murphy his first 2000 race, and Matt Johnson, having done autocross and Fiestas, only 20 years old. But Matt Johnson there chasing the 23-year-old British driver Rob Murphy with the American accent. Rob working for a long time in America, never having enough money to put a proper budget together for a full season, but really showing very impressive form in this is Formula Ford 2000 debut. Matt Johnson, as I've said, he started in autocrossing and moved on to Fiesta racing, which is all very unlikely for a single-seater driver, but he's adapted very well. He's switched across at a young age, and now he's shadowing Rob Murphy's tracks. Bancroft well away. As we've said, he's by far the most experienced driver in this race. None of the regular front runners, a lot of them being foreign, of course. The winner of this year's Formula Ford 2000 champion was the Finnish sensation Jyrki Järveletto, who came to the prominence last year in the Formula Ford Fest we first saw him. So although Bancroft did finish 3rd in the British Series, not many of his close rivals in the race today. There, Murphy holding one up well ahead of Matt Johnson. Smooth, clean lines, the dry track now, only greasy offline, and Murphy seems to have got the measure of Johnson at the moment, and certainly in no problems there. Colin Lees still holding on well in 4th. 5th on the road is Honeysett, but he's another jump start man. So Honeysett is another man to be 10 seconds further back than where we see him right there behind Colin Lees. Sixth, Cal Foster, moving very well indeed, back up. Cameron Binney seventh, and there Emily Newman still trapped in behind Cameron Binney. Whereas she showed that she was equal to the speed of Cal Foster in the first half of the race, Foster is now moving rapidly away to the leading bunch, whereas Emily there is stuck behind Cameron Binney, which must be very frustrating. She's having a dive up the inside now, though. But Cameron Binney, a very experienced Scots driver, he's Scots champion, I believe, of 2000 and 1600 this year. So Cameron Binney, a very experienced driver, and unlikely to let Emily through that easily. So here is the battle at the moment. Cameron Binney, Emily Newman, and closing in on them, Leslie Wright having a very good race in his Reynard. Almost all his chassis Reynards, the most popular chassis at the moment. Martin Boyle unfortunately destroyed his Swift, as we saw earlier, but here the battle. Newman now inside Binney. She got a good line obviously coming onto the straight, and now she's through. She'll have to be careful she doesn't lose the place straight away. Binney gets dumped down 2 places. A bit of bumping and boring up at Clearways. More bodywork damage, but safely back into the pits. But Newman now clear and through, so that's good news there, and hopefully now she'll be able to move forward to chase hard after Cal Foster. So there, after 7 laps, it's Bancroft, the close Murphy Johnson, Lees with Honeysett penalised behind him, then Cal Foster fast catching Colin Lees, and behind Foster this battle we see that Newman has just got to the head of, and can she now close that gap to Cal Foster? Confused as I was there, suddenly out of the blue, I was saying that was Leslie Wright behind him. It is actually Robin Parsons who's stormed up. We saw him early on running second. There, Robin Parsons chasing Emily Newman. He started very well, was running second. We saw him spin out at the first half of the race, drop right to the back. But although he restarted from the back of the grid in this restart, he actually had a 10-second penalty to add to his miseries of the day for running too quickly at the start. So obviously keen to get back in the action. He was too keen, and to add to his problems, he's got another 10-second penalty. So still in second place, Rob Murphy, Round Druids. Matt Johnson seemingly unable to do anything about him at the moment. Identical cars at an identical speed at the moment.